What up, gang? Just wanted to jump on here real quick and kind of talk to y'all for a little while about some stuff. I've been getting a lot of questions lately from brand new anglers to the game. I want to give a shout out to all the brand new followers that we're getting. We got a lot of new people that have joined the TBFD gang family, and a lot of them don't really know a lot about bass fishing. So they've been hitting me up in my DMs. My DMs have been blowing up. This video is going to be here. We're going to be talking about some of this stuff and some of the baits that I like to use. We're right here in Texas. Dead center in the middle of summertime. Summertime is rolling up for a lot of people around the country, and so there's a lot of specific stuff that I really just like to throw around this time of year. So we're going to kind of go through that. We're going to talk about rod and reel setups and things like that. But a lot of y'all, I know y'all probably see, I got tons of rods and tons of reels. And I got this big old kayak. I got all this stuff that I use to go out here and chase these greenback bass. And the truth and the fact of the matter is that you don't need any of that stuff to do any of this. The reality is that you really only need one rod and one reel. And my recommendation for a rod and a reel that you can use that is probably the most versatile rod and reel setup that you could get on the market right now is going to be a 7-foot medium heavy rod. This right here is a Temple Fork Outfitters Heroes on the Water rod, and it's a 7-foot medium heavy. And the thing about 7-foot medium heavy and why that rod is so versatile is because literally you can do everything with the 7-foot medium heavy rod. This rod is not too long, it's not too short. It's long enough that you can get those really long casts. It's short enough that you can get those really accurate casts. And most 7-foot medium heavy rods typically have a good enough backbone in them that you can use them for everything from jigs to topwater, Texas rig to really light finesse setups, and anything else that you could possibly think of that you'd want to throw out here on the water. And the reel that I would recommend pairing something like this with is going to be any bait casting reel, or if that's what you're comfortable with, or spinning reel, whatever it may be. Most spinning reels most definitely have a lot slower gear ratio, but for bait casters, I would recommend getting anything from a 5:8 to 1 to a 6:6 to 1 gear ratio. Right now I've got a Abu Garcia Revo S on here that is a 6:4 to 1. This is actually my Texas rig rod, and this is a rod that I pretty much use for everything from weightless flukes to weighted, Texas rig, worms, you name it. And that's one of the, the bait styles that's actually one of my favorite baits to throw this time of year in the summertime, and that's really the Texas rig, man. The Texas rig is probably one of the most versatile baits that you could ever throw anywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, what you're doing, how you throw it, how you rig it, the Texas rig simply gets bit. And some of my favorite baits to throw on a Texas rig, Bio Crawl from Bio Spawn. That is a crawl style bait. Big old flapping appendages on that. And you also have the Bio Bug, brand spanking new bait that actually just came out from Bio Spawn, the Exopod. You can grab this on a Carl's Bait and Tackle. All these baits you'll be able to get on Carl's Bait and Tackle as well. Another great bait to rig on Texas rig is the Exo Ribbon. This bait comes in two different sizes, 7-inch and 10-inch. Good old ribbon tail worm. Can't go wrong with a ribbon tail worm, especially in the summertime in Texas. Ribbon tail worms just simply get bit. And you got the Exo Stick, straight up run-of-the-mill stick bait. Can't go wrong with that on a Texas rig. And the way I like to rig my Texas rigs, I use typically a smaller hook. A lot of people out there are using a 4-aught hook. Even some are using up to a 5-aught hook. Me personally, I like to use a 3-aught worm hook, and that's what it is. I'm using a Stickies offset worm hook on here. This is just a fluke style bait that's on here, and this hook is a 3-aught Stickies worm hook. Nothing crazy. It's really sharp. It's got just the right amount of gap on it, to get that good big bite on it. And then we'll talk about line. What kind of line do you put on your rod? You got people that are using everything all the way up to 20 pound, fluorocarbon. You got people throwing braid, all kinds of different things like that. I would personally recommend 15 to 17 pound fluorocarbon for an all around. If you're thinking about doing any and everything, we're talking about versatility. You want something that you can literally go anywhere with, throw anywhere, use in any type of situation, think around cover, whatever it may be. 15 to 17 pound fluorocarbon. If you just stick at 17, you'd be good to go. You can do everything on that setup. I'm talking, you can throw frogs, you can throw spinnerbaits, you can throw Texas rig, you can throw chatterbait, you can throw swim baits, whatever it is that you can imagine. You can throw crankbaits on there if you want to, and a lot of you guys, are pond hopping and things like that, beating at the bank. And, 7-foot medium heavy, 17-pound fluorocarbon, 6:4 to 1 gear ratio reel, perfect combo for any and everything that you need to do. Get you a small tackle box, load it up with the things I just pointed out, and you can hit the water and you can go out there and catch fish. So, now that we've talked about the rod and the reel and the line, let's kind of talk about some of the baits that I like to use, this time of year, and, situations that I like to use them in. Obviously big fan of the Texas rig. Texas rig is a bait, that I can throw pretty much anywhere, any situation, any scenario, and it's going to get bit. You think about ponds, you think about lakes, you think about around cover, you think timber, you think grass, whatever it may be. Texas rig, you rig that up whether it be weightless or weighted, and that is simply a super versatile bait that you can, super versatile setup that you can pretty much use in any situation, and you're going to catch fish. When you talk about stick bait, everybody's got stick bait style baits and things like that. You got Cincos, you got, the Exo stick, you got, Zoom trick worms, you got Yum dingers, all these different types of stick baits. Stick bait is a stick bait whenever it really boils down to it. This one right here from Biospawn has got some impregnated sin in it. It's got a little bit of salt in it. It's got a really, really crazy flutter to it when it falls. This is a really good bait to throw weightless. And whenever you think pressure, whenever you hit lakes or ponds or whatever it may be, where the water, the fish that are in there are really pressured, they're not really in tune to really biting the way that you want them to. You pretty much thrown everything but the kitchen sink at them. Weightless stick bait, perfect bait for pond fishing. That's a bait that you can literally walk up to any pond in the United States, any pond pretty much anywhere, and throw that out there, a weightless stick bait, and you're going to get bit, period. If there's fish in that pond, they're going to eat it. So, Texas rig is one of my all-time favorite baits to throw this time of year. Next on my list of favorite baits to throw this time of year is top water. Everybody thinks, hot, top water. That's most definitely, summertime is the perfect time for top water. And, throughout the, a lot of people are trying to figure out, when do I throw top water? Do I throw it in the morning time? Do I throw it in the evening time? Do I throw it in, the middle of the day? When do I throw top water? And the truth of the fact of the matter is you can really throw it at any point in time. Fish are, they're predatory creatures. They are opportunistic hunters. So, anytime that there's an opportunity for them to feed, they're going to eat. So, hook in my fingertip. That did not feel good at all. So, two of my favorite baits to throw in the summertime, top water wise, is a spook. This is a simple walking bait. Just light pops to that reel, gets that bait just walking side to side, just like this, side to side, just like that. That's a solid bait that I absolutely love throwing this time of year. And get a lot of fish on this bait. It's got a nice big rattle inside of there that makes a lot of noise knocking around when that bait's walking across the top water. Really good for open water. That's a bait that if you want to cover a lot of water really, really quickly, top water spook is a perfect bait to throw when you got a lot of water to cover. If you're beating up the bank, you got a whole big pond that you need to get coverage on really, really quickly, and you want to see if there's fish in there and they're hitting on top water. Tie a spook on and throw that thing out there. It's really good for, again, like I said, open water. And typically you want to throw top water whenever the water is relatively calm on top. If there's a lot of chop on top of the water, that bait's going to get lost in those waves. The fish aren't really going to see that. Even with those rattles, it's not really going to draw those fish in the way that you would want it to. So they're going to miss out on that. So top water is not the best throw whenever it's really windy or something like that. Another bait to throw, favorite top water bait to throw, is the frog, man. Frog simply gets it done in the summertime. Right there's a Booyah Pad Crasher, my favorite color. A sunburn. But frog is great for whenever you got stuff on top of the water. When you got that slime and that sludge on top of the water, when you got some cover, you want to get that thing up in there, and that spook's got treble hooks on it. This thing's hooks are rounded and curved up on the backside, so this is typically a weedless bait. You're not really going to get a lot of stuff caught up in this. And, again, this is a walking frog. You got popping frogs, you got walking frogs. And the thing with this one is you can fish this similar to the same way that you would that spook. You want to get long casts, get some slack in your line, and then just work that bait. Just get that cadence down 1, 2, 3, and what happens is that frog, it just walks just like this, and that's what brings those bites out. That walking motion on top of the water, moving that water side to side like that. And when the fish are looking up, they see this thing just kind of doing this across the top of the water, as it's moving by, and they're like, well, what the heck is that? They want to get up there and they want to eat it. So, topwater frog is obviously another one big bait that I really love to throw this time of year. Another bait that I'm a big fan of, I mean, this is a bait that I'm pretty much a big fan of year round. This is a bait that I actually lacked a lot of confidence in about a year ago, until a really good friend of mine, really kind of put me on game about really how to fish it. And that's going to be the jig. The jig is a bait that absolutely gets bit year round, 365 days a year, 7 days a week. There's not a time that you can't throw a jig that's going to get eaten. I mean, because it mimics so many different things in the water that fish are tuned in to feed on. So, the jig is one of those things, like I said, you can throw this thing year round, but this is a bait that I especially love to throw in the summertime, simply because the water temps are up really high. Fish, they get in that real, they get in those really weird moods where, they kind of don't want to feed, they kind of do want to feed. You put a jig like this, something with a big fat skirt on it, it's going to puff up really big in the water. You come dragging this thing by in front of their face, they're going to see that and they're going to go after it, just simply because it's right there. Why not go eat it? And but again, like I said, this is a bait that I lacked a lot of confidence in about a year ago, until a really good friend of mine put me on game about how to fish a jig, and he really told me just fish it like you would a worm, and I was like, it kind of dawned on me. It was really weird. I was like, what do you mean fish it like you would a worm? And I thought about it, just same way you'd fish a Texas rig worm, with a weighted worm, you long cast, let it fall, and then just raise that rod tip up, bring it back to you really slow, crank down on it, bring that rod tip down, and bring it back again. Slow, subtle pops here and there, little hops, make it just hop along the bottom, just dragging it along. And sure enough, I started doing that, and I started getting bit a lot. And I started catching fish on the jig, and and ever since then, that's really what I've been doing, is just fishing it like I would a worm. So that's the best advice that I can give you, for you guys that are out there that are throwing a jig, that aren't familiar with jigs, or you lack that confidence in the jig. Fish it exactly like you would a worm, and you will have success with it. Another one of my favorite baits to throw this time of year, especially on days when it's really windy. The summertime is one of those times of the year where we get a lot of wind. Especially down here in Texas. The lakes are always really windy. There's always a lot of some pretty significant chop on top of the water, even in these ponds and things like that. Where there's no real wind breaks and things like that. But a bait that always has success when in the wind is a good old fashioned spinner bait. So that right there has got an Exo Swim trailer on there. Me personally, I don't even really typically throw a trailer on my spinner baits. I typically fish these without, just literally straight out of the package. I don't even throw a trailer hook on them. And I've had a lot of success doing that. And you can probably see that there's two different types of blades on this one. There's a willow blade and a Colorado blade that's on here. The willow blades are really good for, clear water, or, significantly clearer water. And I typically only fish a white or white and chartreuse color spinnerbait. I don't, typically fish any other colors. I've always had a lot of success on just plain Jane white spinnerbait. And then Colorado blade, that more teardrop spinner blade bait is for stained water. And the one that's on here is much smaller. You can get these with different types of blade combinations on here. You can get single blade, you can get double blade, you can get triple blade. They got some that got quadruple blades on them, and but this bait is just made to mimic a school of small bait fish. That's really what it's made to mimic. And that Colorado blade is made to put off some thump in the water, just when it's coming through the water. And that willow blade is really there for flash. So whenever you're fishing, when you think you're fishing, pretty relatively clear water, they want to see it, and you think that water is really clear. So you get long casts. The fish are going to be able to see that from a lot farther away. And whenever you're fishing stained water, they're not going to be able to see it. So that's why you want to fish with a Colorado blade. Booyah makes one it's called the Booyah blade. It's actually a single bladed spinnerbait that's just got one big old Colorado blade on there. And that thing just whoop, 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 whoop through the water when you're swimming it through. But yeah, man, a spinnerbait is one of my favorite baits to throw this time of year. And this is a bait that I absolutely lacked all confidence in about a year ago, because this is a bait that I've had tons of these, and I've thrown them and just never really caught anything on them. But sometimes a lot of people, you throw stuff and then you get discouraged and you stop throwing it just because you're not catching on it. Well, the truth and the fact of the matter is just keep throwing it, man. Keep on casting, keep throwing that stuff, build that confidence up, and you will start to get bit. And that's what I did. I just really started throwing it, and then just really started focusing on what I was doing when I was retrieving this bait and where I was throwing it. And that's whenever I really started to get bites on it. And this is, man, and you talk about some violent bites, man. The spinnerbait is probably one of the most fun baits to throw if you want to get some super duper violent strikes. Because man, when they hit this thing, they hit it like a Mack truck and they will literally rip the rod out of your hand. This is a fun bait to throw, especially in the summertime when that water is really, really hot. You know, you're out there baking in that sun, but you got a little bit of wind blowing. Throw that spinnerbait on there. Chatterbait is another one. I don't have a chatterbait over here, but that is another bait that I like to throw this time of year as well. They don't call it the cheater bait for no reason, because I mean that's a bait that you can literally pretty much just throw year round and it's going to get bit. What else? This is my last one. So this is a bait that I absolutely love throwing this time of year as well, but this is also a varying bait, and the reason being is that there's so many different styles of this bait, and they all simply just get demolished this time of year. And that is a swim bait. You know, you're talking right here, you got paddle tail swim bait. You know, this right here is the Biospawn Exo Swim paddle tail swim bait, and this is a shad pattern, a pearl shad pattern. And you know, this is a bait that I like to rig up on like a 3 or 4/0 owner flashy swimmer. You know, that's basically a weighted swim bait hook with a little willow blade on the bottom of it, just to give it some flash, underspin. You know, man, you talk about throwing one of these bad boys around any type of cover structure in the water. This thing absolutely gets demolished, and they absolutely eat these bad boys up. I mean, and this is a bait, you know, obviously there's so many different styles of this bait on the market, so it's really, you know, whatever your personal preference is. I'm a big Biospawn fan. I love Biospawn bait, so that's what I use. But the swim bait, you know, that's another one of my favorite baits to throw this time of year. So, you know, those are all baits that you should most definitely be checking out. But, you know, those are 5 of my favorite baits to throw this time of year, favorite types of baits to throw this type of year. But, yeah, man, I hope this was a video that you guys can take and that y'all can take something from, and you can get out there and, again, like I said, chase those giants, man. But again, 7-foot medium heavy is probably the most versatile rod that you can get on the market, period. Doesn't matter what company you buy it from. You know, I mean, me personally, like I said, I'm a TFO guy, so Temple Fork Outfitters is what I recommend. I specifically recommend the Temple Fork Outfitters Heroes on the Water rod. Like I said, that rod, Temple Fork Outfitters actually donates a portion of those profits to Heroes on the Water, which is a great organization for getting veterans on the water. So if you'd like to support something like that, by all means, go to tforods.com and grab you a Heroes on the Water rod and get you a 7-foot medium heavy, casting or spinning, because they have both. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, go out there, catch you some bigs, tag me in some posts. TVFD gang, use that hashtag, and we'll catch you on the next one. The Bastards and Dude out. Peace!